My parents kicked me out after believing my brother's lies. Years later, they begged for money, but I gave them the brutal answer they deserved. I am a 28-year-old woman with a twin brother. Growing up, my twin brother and I received somewhat different treatment from our parents. As the so-called black sheep, I felt my parents were convinced for some reason that my brother was destined for brilliance, while I was more interested in sports and hanging out with friends than academics. Their constant comparisons demoralized me early on and damaged my self-esteem. I was treated like an afterthought as a child, forced to watch my brother enjoy lavish birthday celebrations with friends, while I was never allowed to bring guests to our house. He frequently had sleepovers with his friends. To be honest, I hated every minute of my childhood. My grandmother was the only family member who truly cared about me. She always brought my favorite chocolates, and sometimes slipped me a few dollars, so I could treat myself when she visited. This obvious preference for my twin brother evolved over the years into emotional abuse directed at me. My parents would publicly criticize my hobbies and academics, no matter how hard I tried. I could never seem to meet their ideal of the perfect child. Though I excelled in athletics, they forbade me from engaging in extracurricular activities, insisting I focus exclusively on schoolwork. Just like my brother, it was frustrating, and as a young child, I felt powerless. I was grounded repeatedly. In my sophomore year, I was punished for having Snapchat on my phone. Like most teenagers my age, I had done nothing wrong except download the app to stay in touch with friends. However, since my parents had prohibited me from socializing, they considered this a major offense and a betrayal of their trust. They went ballistic, dumped all my belongings around my room, removed the doors from their hinges, and declared I would have no privacy as long as I lived under their roof. Seeing my parents treat me this way, my twin brother made my life worse instead of helping me. Our parents' unfair behavior created a toxic environment that allowed him to take advantage of the situation. He started lying about me, accusing me of things I never did so he could get away with his own misdeeds. If he stole something, he would easily point the finger at me, and my parents, already inclined to view me negatively, readily believed his falsehoods. He mocked my appearance and belittled me in front of my schoolmates. Despite this, I had a large group of friends at school because I was friendly and open to forming relationships. However, my twin, an introvert, felt uncomfortable with my sociability and began to resent that I could connect with people. This jealousy peaked at our 14th birthday celebration. While my friends took me out for ice cream, making it an overall great day, no one showed up for my brother's birthday. I have no idea why his friends did that to him. Enraged, my brother began spreading false accusations about me at school, portraying me as a spoiled child in retaliation. Since our parents favored him, he misled everyone by claiming I was physically abusing him at home. Unbeknownst to me, he went to extreme lengths, punching himself to cause injuries like a black eye or bruised shoulder to create evidence. He would boldly enter school the next day, showing these self-inflicted injuries as proof of my supposed brutality. He fabricated stories, claiming the injuries came from innocent activities like playing football with friends, whenever our parents asked about them. As his lies and alleged injuries gained traction, whispers spread, and even my friends began looking at me with mistrust. I first noticed subtle changes. People who used to chat with me in the halls suddenly drifted away, group hangouts became fewer and farther apart, and invitations dwindled. People hesitated to be around the supposedly spoiled girl accused of aggression. It was as if a switch had been flipped. One day I mustered the courage to ask my former best friend why our relationship had deteriorated. She revealed that my twin brother had been spreading gossip about me, accusing me of things I had never done. Hearing this shocked me. The sensation was a mix of betrayal and disbelief, as though the ground beneath me had collapsed. My brother, someone I grew up with, was fabricating stories, accusing me of actions I would never have considered. It was a devastating betrayal that left me with a knot in my stomach and a heavy heart. When I confronted my brother at school, urging him to stop lying, he smirked and told me I deserved to rot alone. His falsehoods and actions began to worry me, making it difficult to express myself. Although I wanted to talk to my parents, I feared they would side with my brother, especially since I had always been more open to making friends. The isolation was painful. My brother's jealousy-driven lies seemed to be destroying the relationships I had built over years. Teachers, too, got caught up in the rumors. It felt surreal, as though I were living in a parallel universe where my twins' fabricated narrative eclipsed my true self. The lies weren't just teenage gossip. They were shaping people's actual perceptions of me. The situation escalated when the rumors reached the principal. My worst nightmare materialized when the principal called my brother, our parents, and me into his office to discuss these so-called rumors. My heart pounded as the principal pressed for the truth. I hoped my brother would finally come clean, but he doubled down on his lies. He boldly told the principal that the allegations were true, portraying me as a bully who physically assaulted him when our parents weren't around. I was shocked as he clung to his twisted tale, claiming I was furious at him for receiving more attention from our parents. My mother began to cry, clutching my brother as if he were a hero, telling him he was brave for speaking up and assuring him nothing would happen to him. My father sought to console him as well. I tried to defend myself, pleading with the principal that it was all fabricated, but I felt like I was drowning in a sea of accusations. My brother persisted, painting me as an angry, aggressive person who took out my frustrations on him daily. As my mother held onto my brother, my tears kept flowing, and I faced accusing stares. It was like battling a wall of belief in my brother's invented narrative. The principal scolded me harshly, stating the school didn't tolerate bullying and that these were grounds for punishment. I begged him not to suspend me, but he shook his head, declaring he couldn't let it slide. Tears streaming down my face, I pleaded for him to reconsider, but he insisted on a 10-day suspension to teach others not to bully. Devastated, I cried even harder, nearly begging him to think twice. Furious and ashamed, my parents dragged me from the principal's office. I refused to leave, desperate to make them understand my side, but they wouldn't listen. When we arrived home, everything changed dramatically. Out of the blue, my dad began packing my belongings. Startled and confused, I had no idea what was happening. When my mother asked what he was doing, he yelled that he couldn't allow my brother to live in the same house as me anymore. I begged my brother to tell the truth, nearly on my knees, but he remained cold and unmoved by my tears. After finishing packing, my dad dumped my luggage in the foyer. Still pleading with him not to kick me out, I clung to his legs, but he told me a bully like me didn't deserve to live in his house. He said he would ask his mother, my grandmother, to pick me up if she wanted. The world seemed to collapse beneath my feet as I stood shocked, surrounded by my belongings strewn in the foyer, evicted from my own home. Eventually, my grandmother arrived. She gathered my things, packed them into her car, and helped me into the passenger seat, ensuring I had my seatbelt on. When she approached my parents' front door and rang the doorbell, she shouted at my dad for treating me this way. She sternly warned him that she wouldn't hesitate to involve the police or Child Protective Services if he ever contacted me again, emphasizing that his actions toward a child like me could land him in prison. My mother tried to deflect blame, saying it was my fault, but my grandmother wasn't having it. She stressed that I was just a young child who didn't deserve such cruel treatment. Standing her ground, she defended me with a strength I had never felt before. For the first time, someone believed in me instead of cowering to my parents' narrative. We left my childhood home, the only place I had ever known, behind. Words cannot fully describe the unbearable pain I endured during that time. I recall lying in bed, crying, and refusing to eat, despite my grandmother's pleas. When I told her what my brother had done, she was shocked but believed my side of the story, which brought me some comfort. At least one person had my back. The thought of returning to school after the 10-day suspension felt like stepping into a lion's den. As I walked through the familiar hallways, the faces of my peers told volumes. Judgmental murmurs and sidelong glances followed me. The weight of the unfounded accusations hung in the air. Meanwhile, my brother deliberately ignored me, acting as though I didn't exist. Some people, believing him to be the victim of my alleged assaults, became his friends. No matter how hard I tried to share my side of the story, it was ignored. I was an outsider, unfairly labeled, carrying that stigma like a shadow everywhere I went. In the classroom, the cafeteria, the hallways. The eyes that met mine were filled with contempt and mistrust. I began isolating myself, attending every class, eating lunch alone in the cafeteria, and heading straight home. I had no friends, and it felt like no one wanted me there. Throughout all this, my parents never once called to check on me. My grandmother repeatedly reassured me that life would get better and that none of this was my fault. I managed to maintain decent grades, and when I graduated high school, I looked forward to college, hoping for a better life. I first tasted freedom when I left for college. No one was looking over my shoulder, comparing my grades or challenging me. For the first time, I met like-minded people and formed genuine friendships. Though the emotional and physical scars from my family and peers lingered, I focused on leaving the past behind and embracing the college experience as much as possible. It was during this time that I discovered my passion for content writing. Although I had always wanted to be a writer, I had initially abandoned the dream, unsure if it was a viable long-term career. However, I decided to start freelancing to earn some side money. Signing up on various platforms helped me land work from well-known companies. Gradually, I built a portfolio of my work. I continued this side project throughout college, never asking my parents for a single penny. Instead of pursuing a corporate job after graduation, I realized I could work full-time as a content writer. The clients and long-term professional relationships I had built roped me into several projects, allowing me to thrive. My respectable freelancing career enabled me to travel the world as a digital nomad, achieving financial independence. Though it wasn't easy, traveling helped me heal from my past. I seized every opportunity and bet on myself. Over the years, I've seen so much of the world, yet there's still so much more to explore. Throughout all this, my grandmother was the only family member I cared about. I loved her deeply, When I moved out, she was quite depressed, but she knew I needed to be independent. Despite my busy schedule, I made it a point to spend time with her whenever possible. On weekends, I would visit her, sitting on the porch or sharing meals, lost in conversations ranging from childhood memories to recent events. I'd spend entire days helping her with housework, or taking her for leisurely walks in the neighborhood park. Recently, I completed one of the most significant assignments of my career. Though I cannot name the brand, I was fortunate to write blogs and product descriptions for them. After the project, I asked the team I worked with to provide positive feedback on my website, which they were happy to do. Knowing this collaboration was a big deal, I shared screenshots of their reviews on Instagram. As expected, many content creators reached out to celebrate my achievement and even shared my story to spread the word. This led to messages from strangers seeking help with their websites. Some of my family members also noticed and contacted me to congratulate me. Eventually, my college principal reached out, having seen my success. He invited me to give a lecture at the college about career paths in content writing. Though public speaking made me anxious, I took a chance and agreed. Standing before expectant faces, sharing my knowledge and experiences, felt like my life had come full circle. In my lecture, I discussed the challenges I faced and how I persevered despite many difficult days. Empowering others and helping the writing community thrive was a deeply rewarding experience. As people related to my story, clips from my lecture began going viral in Facebook groups. Being appreciated for my work felt incredible. Last week, I was invited to speak on a local news station. The segment highlighted the benefits of content writing, and they asked me to share my journey and insights with their audience. Though nervous, I was excited about the opportunity. During the show, I discussed my experiences, the value of client feedback, and how a simple thank you note can open amazing possibilities. The chance to inspire others in the profession and reach a broader audience was humbling and thrilling. I posted snippets of the interview on Instagram, feeling honored to be featured on TV. This was how my cousins and extended family first learned about my professional success. My parents had no idea I was working with well-known companies or appearing on TV, as they never discussed me with anyone. News spread quickly within my family, and I suppose the TV interview finally made an impression on my parents. A few days later, while working on another project, I noticed my phone was silent. When I checked it after finishing my work, I found 6 missed calls from my mother. Seeing her name on my phone startled me, as it had been a long time since she last called. After years of silence, I couldn't understand why she was reaching out. Hesitantly, I called her back, and she answered immediately. When I asked if everything was okay, my mother began praising me. My father, who was apparently sitting nearby, joined the conversation, asking about my life and well-being. I responded without much thought, but it felt odd when they started asking how much I was earning. My dad claimed that, as family, I shouldn't be shy about sharing my salary. I told him it was none of their business but assured them I was doing well financially. Hearing this, my mother explained that their life was difficult now, as they were retired with no savings left and their house needed renovations. My brows furrowed with suspicion. Here's the general flow of our conversation. Mom, we've been wanting to remodel the house for some time. We're retired now, though, and have no savings left. The house is not in ideal shape. Me, okay. Mom, we have hope since your success. Having seen your TV interview, we thought perhaps you could help cover the renovation costs. Dad, we're family first of all. You shouldn't hesitate to send some of your income to us. We really need your help. Me, are you kidding me? After not speaking to me for years, why are you asking for money? While I appreciate the congratulations, I'm not going to help you in any way. I wonder what prompted you to reach out. Hearing this, my mother remarked that I should be grateful and help them as family. My dad added that it was the least I could do since they deserved to be supported. I was so offended that I wanted to give them a piece of my mind. Instead of arguing, I decided to teach them a lesson for a lifetime. Their mistreatment of me years ago led them to try leeching off me now. I told my parents I'd be willing to help if they met my condition. My dad, perplexed, asked what it was. I laid out my demand. If they wanted my help, they had to publicly acknowledge, in front of our family and friends, that my brother was behind the malicious rumors that damaged my reputation. They had to admit they believed his lies and manipulation, and they needed to humiliate my brother the same way they humiliated me. I wanted them to own their actions and acknowledge the pain they caused. Hearing my condition, my dad questioned the need for such an admission. My mother called it pointless, suggesting we could discuss it privately. I stood firm, stating this condition was non-negotiable and would be required for any future help they sought. As the tension grew, my dad emphasized his role as my father, claiming it was my duty to help my needy family and highlighting the years they spent raising me. In a final attempt, my mom urged me to act morally and assist them. Their sudden plea struck me as ironic. I reminded them of the past, how they kicked me out and how my grandmother, not they, raised me. They grew increasingly restless, but I firmly reiterated that if they wanted my financial help, They had to publicly admit the truth, and my brother had to face consequences for his actions. Since that conversation, my parents have been calling me non-stop, but I've been avoiding their calls. I regret even calling them back that day. Would I really be wrong if I did nothing to help my parents? A week has passed, and the support and encouragement I've received have been overwhelming. Knowing I'm not alone during this time gives me hope after everything I've been through. I'm grateful everyone feels I shouldn't engage with my parents or consider helping them. I set such a condition knowing it was nearly impossible for them to fulfill. Even if they've realized by now that my brother's accusations were lies, I know they'll never hold him accountable, the way they did me. They love him too much. Today, after my parents tried contacting me again, my brother sent me a nasty text message. I ignored their calls, and he wrote, "Hey sis, I can tell you every day without you in my life has been fantastic. It's been a long time since I've seen you. Mom and Dad contacted you, from what I heard, and you gave them an insane directive. You know they'll never follow through on it, they'll never do anything to hurt me, and they most definitely never loved you. Although I did lie about you 15 years ago, it's been a long time since then, so stop being so self-serving and try to let go of the past. You're childless and single anyway, so why wouldn't you want to help them with house repairs and renovations? Act morally and be a better daughter." Reading his message felt like a stab to the chest. His lack of empathy was evident in his boldness to dismiss the hardships I endured and the conditions I set, even emphasizing my single and childless status. His attempt to guilt-trip me added another layer of insensitivity. Not only was his implication that I should prioritize their needs over my well-being offensive, but it also highlighted how little he valued me. Frustrated and driven by a deep need for justice, I decided it was time to take action and expose the truth that had been buried for too long. I sat down and sent an email to my parents and close relatives, sharing the painful details of my life and the unfair treatment I suffered in our family home. In the email, I described how my parents treated me differently from my twin brother and the strict, oppressive environment I lived in. I detailed the damaging and entirely false rumors my brother spread about me at school, which led to severe consequences and tarnished my reputation. I wrote about how my parents kicked me out and how, if not for my grandmother, I might have ended up on the streets. Toward the end, I included a screenshot of my brother's text message, where he admitted to lying about me, a clear confession meant to reveal the lies that had persisted for far too long. I sent the email an hour ago. Once my parents and brother see it, all hell will break loose. I'll update you next on how my family responds. A month has passed, and a lot has transpired. My family erupted upon receiving the email. Relatives who were previously unaware of the extent of the favoritism and emotional abuse criticized my parents. Many family members reached out to me, apologizing for not being there and saying they had no idea about the situation. After my brother and father sent me a barrage of increasingly hostile and nasty text messages, I contacted a lawyer. She sent a cease and desist notice, warning them not to contact me further and stating that doing so would result in severe legal consequences. They've stopped reaching out, so I assume the notice scared them straight. My grandmother supports me 100%, believing I did the right thing by informing everyone about what happened. She's the only person who matters to me, so I'm glad she has my back. 2 months have passed, and I'm happy to say that my life is running smoothly. Professionally, my content writing business is thriving, with offers to speak at podcasts and seminars continuing to pour in, solidifying my reputation as a valued professional in my field. I'm closer to my grandmother than ever. Recently, I took a 1-week vacation from work to spend time with her. She loves gardening and taught me a lot about different herbs and flowers in her yard. The moments I spend with her, sharing meals, having deep conversations, or simply hanging out, are my most treasured memories. I'm relieved my family has kept their distance since the cease and desist letter. I've also started attending therapy to work on healing myself.